Hi, this is Arnav. Welcome to the channel. Today I have Ameen with me. Ameen is the CEO of Spankchain, and today we are going to talk more about his interesting project. So, hi Ameen, how are you, man?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Okay. Can you give a brief background of how you actually got into blockchain and how you actually started Spankchain eventually?
Sure. My first experience with blockchain was when we bought mushrooms in college on the Silk Road with Bitcoin. And then after graduating college, I built a Bitcoin arbitrage bot. I made about $5 in arbitrage and made $1,000 off of the price of Bitcoin going up, and then lost everything in Mt. Gox. Then I sort of went on a Bitcoin hiatus, worked on a news aggregator, and then once that failed, I worked at Consensus for a year as the payment channel expert.
Okay, and how did you get the idea of Spankchain and how did you get into Spankchain?
Yeah, so after I left Consensus, I was trying to figure out where the most immediate like area would be where payment channels would work and consumers would adopt it. And in my research, I figured out that adult live cams would be the best place. And so we figured that we should explore that. And then once I started looking into the adult industry, I realized that actually there's embedded discrimination against the adult industry, like in the financial system. People have their accounts closed down for no reason. Like Visa and MasterCard won't refuse to process transactions, which means that the payment processors that do work with them charge really high fees. Like PayPal will just like close out accounts. And so for the adult industry and the performers in it, the killer app is actually Ethereum itself. It's just being able to store their money without the threat of any intermediary freezing their accounts or shutting it down or seizing their funds. And so that's when we realized that we needed to build Spankchain. And the payment channel stuff is actually just like a scalability hack in order to be able to migrate this economy onto Ethereum today instead of like in 3 years when everything scales.
Okay, got it. So, can you talk briefly about what is Spankchain?
Yeah, sure. So Spankchain is an economic platform for the adult entertainment industry. So we build things like our payment platform. So I can split it up into like three sort of sections. We have core services. We have core, and then services, and then applications. So like the core is like we build open source smart contracts, open source libraries around basically common infrastructure for the adult industry, things you would need. So our payment channel smart contracts, we have an identity platform for performers that we're building. We have open source wallet. And then the services layer is like, you can think of it as like the AWS for porn. It's like everything you'd need to build your own online adult entertainment business. So that's anything from payment hubs to actually do transaction processing, to advertising integrations, to affiliate platforms, to like a what you see is what you get editor for a website. And then we have applications which we build and the community builds. And so we're building, for example, a campsite right now. That's what we are planning on launching the closed beta of in about a week. And the applications use the services as well as the core infrastructure. And so applications, some will be built by us and some we're hoping will be built by third parties in the space and partners. This could also be like content, clip sites, for uploading videos and selling those, a marketplace for that. And that can also be broken down across different axes. For example, you want like a specific community, like a kink community or a gay or lesbian or what have you, or across like languages. You want Russian or German or what have you. So I think there's a lot of room for bringing the benefits of the blockchain technology to the adult entertainment industry, and we're going to make it easy to do so.
Okay, got it. So what exactly are the current problems with the current system that can you list down some major problems that we have and how exactly you are solving them?
Yeah, sure. So like I'll tell you a little bit of a story. So I got a call December 27th or 8th by Joey Kim, who has her own campsite, and PayPal shut down her account and froze it with $70,000 still inside. And their default is to only release those funds after like 6 months. And the reason that they froze her account is because they figured out that her account was associated with adult content, but she applied for a PayPal business account, and was totally transparent that it was going to be for adult content. And they even actually have an adult digital content section when you make your account. So it's like totally nonsensical that they would do this. Pretty sure it's actually against the Constitution, but they did it anyway. And you know, that's a problem, right? It's like not being able to have money and store it securely and have financial intermediaries that don't shut you down. Like, that's one of the problems, right? Another big problem is payment processors, right? So payment processors typically charge in like the 10 or 15% range for adult content. And if you're huge, they'll charge something like 5%. But the reason is because chargebacks are so prevalent in the industry. So somebody picks up the phone, calls the bank, it's like, it wasn't me, right? And with cryptocurrency, you actually don't have any risk of fraud or chargebacks. The transactions are non-repudiable, that you can't take it back, right? So it totally solves that problem, and it decreases the transaction costs of dealing with the payment processor by 1 or 2 orders of magnitude. So we're talking about having our payment processing fees be like 0.5%, and we could go even lower. So that's a big part of it. And then, yeah, like campsites, as a result of the transaction fees being so high, also charge a lot, like something like 50% in most cases. And for us, we're going to charge like 5 for our campsite. So we're going to be 10 times cheaper in terms of the earnings that cut that we'll take. So I think there's a lot of problems that Spankchain is going to solve for adult performers.
So this is like you are talking about the financial aspect and the transaction part. What were the problems with the platforms like the content creators and producers? Are there problems there that you are targeting as well?
Yeah. So the content creators have to use these platforms right now because they don't really have another choice, right? So like CC Bill, which is the payment processor, not only charges 10 or 15% on transactions, they also charge like $1,000 as like a sign-up fee. And so for a lot of performers, this is going to like price you out of entrepreneurship when you could otherwise start your own site, right? So the tools aren't really there. But there's other questions around other ways that the blockchain can serve as a coordination platform for their interests. So a lot of times performers want to have ownership or have be able to contribute to the decisions made on content ranking and what is allowed and what is not. And so if we can build community owned and operated marketplaces, then they will be able to have a say and ultimately decide like how the content is ordered and ranked and what is permissible and what is not.
Okay. I think it would be great, like if you can walk through how exactly the platform works, starting from the creators and the users and the whole people that are using the platform.
Okay, so I'll describe the campsite and how that looks like for users and for performers, and then from there I can sort of extrapolate how the payment stuff works and how other stuff might work, right?
Yeah.
So for the campsite, I'm a performer. I sign up, I make an account, I submit my identification, age verification, we do all that, and then I start a stream and I start a public show. And so then a bunch of people can join, and the users will have to create wallets. And so we'll have a Spank card, which is essentially a metaphor for opening a payment channel with Spankchain, which allows us to have infinite throughput off-chain transactions that are secured by the Ethereum blockchain. It's the same as Lightning. But it's sort of like opening a bar tab. So you place a deposit with Spankchain, and then you can make all of these tips, and all the tips happen instantly because they're all off-chain, right? And they don't cost any gas. And then you only have two on-chain transactions. One's when you deposit, and the other's when you settle, and you only settle the final balance. So the user, once they place that deposit, then they go on the campsite and join the camp show for the performer, and then they'll send any number of tips, and then the performer is going to get all of those tips, and we'll take a small cut, and then they'll get paid out, right? So that's like the first version. The second version, they'll actually have instant payouts, and we will never actually have custody of the funds using a technique called hash locks, which is how Lightning and Raiden both work as well. It allows you to route through an intermediary without having to trust them, which I'm really excited about, and we're working on actively. And from there, a lot of our platform is going to be tightly integrated with payment channels too. So, for example, if we want to launch an ad network, we want to have advertisers who maybe during a cam show, they want to have a banner ad or a side ad, and they want to be able to, send some payment for how long users are viewing those ads. And so they'll open up a payment channel with us, and then they can make per impression micropayments to us for those ads, which is like, astronomically better than how advertising currently works, because it's like a 30 to 60 day settlement cycle until you get your money and all that. For example, for affiliate networks, performers have friends. I want to promote my friend's camp show, right? So I'll go to their camp show, I'll get a special link, and that link will have my address, my Ethereum address. And so then I'll send that link out to my followers, and the people who click on my link and then go to the site, they would, inside of a payment channel, when they send the payment, it would specify who, for each payment, who the affiliate was that I went through. And then when the payments are settled, that affiliate will be paid out. And that'll all be encoded in the smart contract, which is way better than how affiliate systems work. We can have like APIs that we offer. So if somebody wants to build a white label site for Spankchain, so it's they want to charge users some additional percentage, and but they don't have their own performers, right? So they'll just use our performers, and they want to maybe have only a section of our performers, like only people who speak Russian or something, right? So and it could be anything, right? And then they'll make their own website, and then they need to query Spankchain in order to figure out which performers are active, right? And so then we could actually have an API which exposes, says who is active, and they could do a pay per API call also in a payment channel, right? And every time they send the API request, they send a small payment, right, along with it. So that would be interesting as well. And so our goal is to basically bootstrap all of these services by building them for ourselves for our own campsite and clip site, and then open up these services for the rest of the industry to use to build on our platform.
Got it. And how do you use, can you talk how the trade occurs? Like people buy, say I am a user and I want to pay the performer, I buy the Spank tokens and then I pay them. How does that work out?
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I didn't really talk about our token yet. Okay. So our token is not a transactional token, it's a staking token. So users will be able to pay in whatever tokens the performers accept. So probably first Ether, or maybe some number of stable coins like DAI, which I wish it wasn't called DAI, because you're going to go to a performer and be like, hey, want to DAI? And it's like, you're kidding, that's like the worst name ever. Anyway, but basically the Spankchain payment platform is token agnostic, right? We don't care. What the Spankchain token is actually for is for staking. It's for it acts as a dynamic license for the usage rights to our platform. So when I said that we collect a fee before, for example, for the campsite, and that was 5%, I said, and for the payment processor, it's 0.5. That fee will be collected in Booty tokens. So that's not Spank tokens. We actually have two tokens. Okay. So the way it works is you hold Spank, you stake your Spank in the Spank Bank smart contract, and you mint Booty. Now, Booty is usage rights in the Spankchain platform, right? So each booty is pegged to $1. So we accept each booty as $1 in platform fees, right? So, and so the way to think about this is it's sort of like a co-op, right? If you participate in staking the Spank, and then you generate usage rights proportional to how much Spank you are staking. So if you have 1% of the Spank that is staked, you will generate 1% of the new booty. And if you use 1% of the total platform in fees, then you will generate enough booty to pay for your fees. And if you have more Spank than you are using and paying for the platform and fees, then you can sell the extra booty to other people who need to pay for their fees, right? And if you have less, you need to buy it from somebody who has it. And so that's sort of how it works as a license, and it scales with the growth of the platform. So the generation of booty is actually algorithmically determined by how much is used. So I won't go into too much detail there, but it's all in our white paper.
I think it's something similar to Steam. Is it that Steam powers Steam dollar?
It's not that similar to Steam. It's like, it has, 2 tokens and you stake. Steam is more, I think, linked to the content creation and the attention, whereas ours is more on the usage of the platform. It's not really tied to like users' attention and stuff like that, and content creation. I don't really, Steam is weird. I don't really get it. I don't like, I need to read about it more, because it seems like, they're just generating money, and like nobody
not backed by anything,
putting value into the system. So it's one of those things.
Okay. So how is the data stored, and like what is stored exactly on the blockchain? Like you store the videos and all the content is stored in a central server, and what gets exactly stored on the blockchain?
Yeah, we made every trade-off for centralization in order to launch faster. So very little is stored on the blockchain right now. So right now it's basically just the payments channels that are on the blockchain. The performer registry will be on the blockchain, so you'll have an open identity, and that's important because we want other sites to be able to use our identity platform. That'll also be on chain. So you can think, here's all your social links, and then when you have content, if you do put, for example, content might not be on the blockchain, but it might be decentralized on something like IPFS or LivePeer at some point, right? Where then you can reference the ID, which is that Ethereum address, right, from the content, and then you can have a sort of structured information. So right now, if you want to like find somebody's videos, there's no good place to find everything they've ever done, right? Whereas this would be like a proper metadata format that allows you to find it easily. What else is on the chain? Yeah, I mean, you shouldn't really be putting a lot on the chain, right? I think blockchains are better as a settlement verification layers than like just data dumps.
Yeah. So like how is the ID? What goes in the ID as well? Can you talk more about that? Like say, I have to, when someone is signing up as a content creator, do you do some checks as well, or anyone can join the network?
Yeah, we have to do checks, right? So for performers, right now it's centralized ID verification, right? So they upload it to our server, and then we check it, or well, actually, we use a third-party service to give us an API call, and they say, yes, this person is over 18, and then we say, okay, this is legit. But in the future, you can imagine that people can provide on-chain attestations, right? So this is sort of how Uport is imagined to work. As a trusted provider of age verification, I would go and on chain, I'd have a registry, and I'd say, these addresses of these performers, I have verified, right? And then other people will be able to see that and depend on me. And then fewer people have to do that total, right?
Okay, got it. Like it's something like if someone with a higher attestation signs that this person is fine is like above 18, then obviously that gets a higher chance of successfully getting registered.
Yeah, and I guess the Spank Bank is a smart contract, so tracking the usage of the total platform in order to manage the algorithmic generation of booty is important. We may also build our own plasma chains or use plasma chains for another secondary identity verification part of our platform called proof of spank. So there's actually two age verification problems. One is like making sure that the IDs are correct, but when you have a live show, there's also the problem of somebody could just walk off the camera and then somebody underage could walk on and then continue performing, right? And so the way we're going to solve that is we're going to, well, the only way to solve that is basically to watch all the cams all the time, right? But what we're going to do in order to get there is create an incentive for participating in watching these cams, right? And so our Spank stakers, staking their Spank in the Spank Bank to generate booty, actually we're going to put them to work. So they have to vote on whether or not the performer matches their profile in order to receive booty payments. And so specifically the way it'll work, or how we envision it so far, is every 10 minutes a performer will be picked at random, and we'll generate 4 random numbers using a recent source of randomness, like a block hash, and then the random numbers will be between 1 and 20. They will recite all 4 random numbers, and then they will pick one of those random numbers and spank themselves that many number of times. Now, this is not strictly necessary. We've received some criticism from very, highbrow academics that are like, you could do this without, you don't need this. And it's like, of course not. It's fun. Spanking is like a huge part of live cams, and everybody, enjoys it, and you'll all figure it out. But then what happens is everybody who has Spank votes on whether or not the performer matches their profile. And if the performer matches their profile, then everything's fine. But if the performer, there's some discrepancy, then we will investigate it and potentially close the account if they find that there's an imposter.
Okay, got it. And like you envision the site to be used worldwide, that anyone can become a content creator, anyone can can watch.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that the goal for Spankchain is becoming the infrastructure for the entire adult entertainment industry. Right? So we want to work with everyone across all borders, and geographies, and ideologies.
Got it. So can you talk about some partnerships that you have done already and how you are planning to drive user adoption for the platform?
So we're talking to a number of people, basically everyone you'd expect, but we haven't formalized any partnerships yet. Our most likely partnerships that'll happen first will happen. So we have an advisor, Kate Cross. She has her own site, TrenchCodeX. So we've been talking about integrating with them to basically use our payment platform, and we're talking to a number of people about that. So more news on partnerships will come.
Got it. And so how do you see, like, say if you're talking to Kate Gross, then she'll have a payment processor, your payment processing system on her website. How would that workflow look like? Can you talk more?
Oh yeah, I should talk more about this. I should have done, yeah. So for the cam site, when a user sends in, they generate a wallet, right? And part of that wallet is a Spank card, which represents their payment channel with Spankchain, right? And so they have a wallet that they have to fund, and then they take the money from the wallet and then they deposit it into the Spank card. And the card can be then used to pay instantly for our content, right? So if we go that same user, and to be clear, this is a huge advantage because they don't have to deal with email addresses or usernames or passwords or credit cards, right?
So they need to download the wallet. It's just like an Ethereum wallet or something like that?
It's an Ethereum wallet, right? And so then they don't need to download it. It's actually in an iframe. So it's like MetaMask, but in an iframe, right? So then if I go to a different partnered website and it says Spank card accepted here, right? I don't have to sign up. I don't have to put my username, email address, anything, right? I just pay instantly for content, right? I see a video I like, I hit a button and it's done, right? That's the level of user experience that we want. And I think that's what's going to set us apart. And you can think of this as like a single sign-on experience, right? For buying content in the adult world.
Okay, so it's like a user first creates your own wallet, and then he gets to the Spank card and he pays through that. So how he pays in the Booty token or in the Spank token? How does that work out?
Yeah, it's right now it's just ETH, and then
Okay.
eventually it'll be so Booty can be used for payment. It doesn't have to be used for payment. It's likely that models will accept Booty because they have to pay their fees in Booty, right? And it's a stable coin, so it'll retain its value.
Okay,
Yep.
got it.
Yep.
And so can you talk about some like what's the future roadmap and where is the platform headed in the future?
Yep. So basically the plans for this year is to get our token working and built and deployed. Not the tokens up, but the mechanics of minting the Spank and building the Spank Bank, building out the campsite, building the clip site, and then building the first versions of the services that we plan to offer, the payment processing, as well as the advertising and affiliate networks. That's the plan for this year, and then trying to find partnerships and integrate those with our partner sites, and then moving towards decentralization from there, right? Where we decentralize the identity by bringing it on chain, and the edge verification attestations. We can decentralize the video, and that's sort of like year two is more about growth and then decentralizing ourselves, right?
And I'm curious, how do you, what's your business model here? Like you just take the cut, or you have some other ways of making money as well?
Yeah, we make money from the CAM platform that we operate, from operating the payment processor for our partners, for offering the advertising and affiliate networking solutions. That's our business model.
Okay, got it. Yeah, I think we have covered quite a lot, and I'd like to keep the interview brief as well. So yeah, thanks, Ameen, for coming on such short notice.
Cool. Thanks for having me, Arnav. I appreciate it.
Yeah, bye bye.